Good afternoon. JJ Redick gets an extension, but LeBron James does not. Who are the Lakers truly prioritizing going forward? Plus, Joel Embiid says things will be unpredictable this season. We'll tell you what he meant. All of that and more. It's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. I'm Wes Goldberg, and today we are taking a visit to Philadelphia 76ers Media Day, and we'll be looking forward to our most anticipated Media Day storylines at the beginning of next week, and we are doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts, and I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast, senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
NBA Europe is supposed to get set up here in a couple of years, and my wife is already trying to plot out how to set us up there just for the ability to hang out in Europe. So prayers up for me as I try and navigate the ability to figure out exactly what NBA Europe is going to be.
Are you on Zillow for Sweden or something now? Like, what's going on?
I apparently she probably is. She's probably got this all set up. So if you find out that I've got a job, just know I have nothing to do with it. It's just my wife did it. Much like Uncle. She's my Uncle Dennis, basically.
From the Locked On Pacers podcast, he's filling in for Hayes. We have Tony East. Tony, who's your Uncle Dennis?
The rat from Ratatouille.
Oh,
Matt,
nice.
The rat's the cook the whole time if you move
under your
Europe.
Seattle Mariners hat.
Yes.
Very good. We are going to start today in Los Angeles. Lakers GM Rob Pelinka and head coach JJ Redick talked to the media on Thursday, which brings us to our newest segment we are debuting right off the top here. It's called Are We Convinced? Rob Pelinka spoke with the media and announced that the Lakers have signed JJ Redick to an extension. Redick won 50 games in his first year as the Lakers head coach. They were the third seed in the Western Conference. Here's more on the extension from our friends over at Locked On Lakers.
The idea that they are actually prioritizing this at all, because it has not been with the Lakers, I would say, since Phil Jackson. Like the idea that we want to establish this sort of longevity and culture specifically through a coach and actually meaning it. But also, I think it goes unsaid. Luka clearly likes JJ Redick because they don't do this unless Luka, who also just got an extension, at minimum seems to enjoy being coached by JJ.
So, guys, this time last year, we were not convinced that JJ Redick could make the transition from the broadcast booth to the sideline. But, Matt, are you convinced now that JJ Redick is a good coach?
Who's we? I thought he was going to be all right, and I think he was all right. I think he was pretty good. I think JJ's about the right things. I think JJ's really committed to process. I think that playoff series was a pretty big disaster based off of the roster that he was put with, and it was a learning curve. And I think a lot of good coaches have had bad first-time playoff appearances. So I think that there's a lot of room for him to grow. I do think that JJ thinks about the game the right way. He approaches the game the right way. He has a connection with the players. They play hard for him. And that to me is enough. And his job gets honestly easier next year. Once LeBron's gone, it's just easier to coach the team. After LeBron is gone, it will be a lot easier for him to be able to manage the egos and the process, even with Luka there. He's done a good job of getting Luka in his corner, as Locked On Lakers said, and that's really all you got to do.
The current reigning champion head coach in the NBA had a bad first playoffs, right? He had no answer. He had no answers for the Mavs for that OKC team, right? And Dagnall, everybody realized he was a great coach. So I agree that I don't think JJ Redick's first playoffs was good. They lost in 5 games, and one of them was wait, you only played how many players? You're trying Maxi Kleba in crunch time? You might as well put me out there. But his regular season was very good, winning 50 games with the team that they had, including so many guys that they expected to rely on being kind of in and out all year. And Dalton Connect wasn't any good. And Gabe Vincent was bad until he was good. That was actually impressive. And that was his first year. So with better teams, more experience, I do expect that he will be better and that his team will continue to get better. So I'm surprised they did it after just 1 year, but that's not because I don't think he's a good coach.
Matt, you mentioned there that LeBron won't be there next season. Now, I don't know that everybody is making that conclusion, and people have probably seen that this quote that's been aggregated, and I think it's been aggregated without context. The quote is, "We'd love for LeBron James to retire a Laker," and that quote comes from Rob Pelinka. But I do think that in the aggregation, as it tends to do, is missing some of the key context from the exchange between Rob Pelinka and the reporter who asked the question, ESPN's Dave McMenamin. McMenamin asked a question about how the Lakers' long-term plan to build the team factors into LeBron's long-term future, considering that LeBron is in a contract year for the first time in a very long time. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the full exchange because I think the context is important. I'm going to include McMenamin's follow-up question as well.
LeBron's 8th season with the Lakers. It's going to be the first time he's in a contract year. How does that affect your team building process as you not only have to take into account this year's roster, but the optionality of the team for years to come?
The first thing we want to do in terms of LeBron and his future is just give him absolute respect to choose his story with his family in terms of how many years he's going to continue to play. He's earned that right, and he's the best one to talk about that in terms of how many years he'd like to play. But we were very intentional this summer in terms of the pieces we add with Luka and LeBron once LeBron opted in, making sure that they had the necessary pieces around them to be on a really competitive, strong team. And we built into that and for that. In terms of the future, obviously, again, with what I started your question with, first things first would be for him to be able to make the decisions he wants to in terms of how long he wants to play. We're going to continue to honor and respect that and let him speak into that.
If he was interested in extending beyond this year, are the Lakers interested in having LeBron James as part of the team?
Yeah, I think I've said before in a previous question, we would love if LeBron's story would be to retire as a Laker. That'd be a positive story.
So I just want to underline that for people who may have missed it there. Rob Pelinka was asked, are you guys going to re-sign LeBron James? Are you interested in re-signing LeBron James after this season when his contract expires? And Pelinka said, I think it would be a great story if he retired a Laker. That, to me, Tony, is dodging the question. Are we convinced that the Lakers want LeBron on the roster beyond this season?
Yeah, it's dodging because he also could be saying, like, yeah, we hope he retires this year.
That's right.
We don't have to worry about either direction, no path forward. And like look, you can say whatever you want, but like we can see what you did. We can see the decisions you make team building, and that is always where you figure out what a team's actual plan is in terms of what their timeline is with how long their contracts are, what players they aren't willing to extend in this case. So do I believe he actually maybe wants LeBron to retire a Laker? Yeah. Do I think that he wants that to happen in the very, very short-term future because it would help his plan? Also, yes. So I don't think anybody's lying, but it certainly, I agree with you, is lacking a lot of important context.
There's a whole lot to kind of break down here. And if you haven't been following the show, I've talked about this pretty repeatedly. This to me is all about a power dynamic. It is in the Lakers' best interest for LeBron James to play for the Lakers. They will continue to make more money if LeBron plays for them than they will if he doesn't. The key is they have cut the legs out from under Clutch. They no longer run things. You are no longer in charge. Like they did the Bane in the Dark Knight Returns of putting the hand on, do you feel in charge? That's what they did to Clutch, was say, we got rid of Anthony Davis in the middle of the night for Luka Doncic, and now you no longer have this kind of sway over us. We're tired of you complaining about the roster. We're tired of you wanting us to sign all your guys. We're the Lakers. We run this team. Luka is the future. The key here is we'd love to have LeBron retire as a Laker, and he gets to decide how long he wants to play. The key part of that is that he doesn't get to determine where he wants to play for how much he wants to play. If LeBron wants to come back on what the Lakers feel is a reasonable deal for a 41-year-old LeBron, sure, they'll acclimate that because they know because LeBron has tipped them off time and time again. He will not actually hold them accountable. He held the Cavs accountable. He held the Heat accountable. He held the Cavs accountable again. With the Lakers, he's done nothing but coddle them and give them more opportunities because he and they both know he doesn't want to go anywhere else, that he can't go anywhere else because of his business interests and his family. He is going to be in LA. The weather is just too nice. It's too much fun to be in LA as that kind of mega powerful athlete. So he's not going anywhere unless he absolutely has to. And that's going to be the tough one for him, is if this comes down to pride. I'm not going to finish my contract on a mid-level exception. I'm not going to finish my contract on a $10 million deal. These kind of questions are what he's going to have to face if he wants to keep playing for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Also, Bronny's on his team.
Also, Bronny's on his team.
That's the part that is so interesting to me. He does not have a contract after this season. And it kind of feels to me that maybe the Lakers are hoping that he's not going to have a contract after the season with them, as they may be moving to this Luka Doncic direction. But we'll see what happens. Nobody making that commitment right now, but they did make that commitment to JJ Redick. Meanwhile, Paul George called last season rock bottom for the 76ers. Is he right, or can it actually get worse in Philadelphia? Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Skims. When I found out that Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. And let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with my underwear fit, comfort, just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everybody, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the Skims boxer briefs, and I am telling you, I'm hooked. These are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me. They never lose their shape. They stay in place all day, whether I'm working out or just running errands. They're the most comfortable and reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like I'm wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your first order, select podcast in the survey and select our show, Locked On NBA, in the drop-down menu that follows. We'll be right back. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The best way to support the show is to make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Let us know in the comments section what you think about the Lakers' non-commitment to LeBron James. But let's go to Philadelphia, where we're at 76ers Media Day on Friday morning. Joel Embiid told reporters that the new plan to manage his health is to take things, quote, day by day. And guys, day by day was the thing he kept repeating. And he also said this, quote, I think going forward, we're just going to listen to my body. I'll be honest and say it's going to be unpredictable at times, and that's okay. We're going to work with that, end quote. Matt, can the 76ers work with an unpredictable Joel Embiid?
Yeah, Tyrese Maxey kind of also talked about this, about how they need to be the same team regardless of who plays. And it's impossible when Embiid, you can't have the same system. You just can't. Like, Joel has to have the ball so much. He has to be the center of gravity. He has to be the star that the solar system orbits around when he's on the floor. So you can't play the same way. He's not interchangeable that way. And that makes it, I think, pretty difficult. Like, that to me is what the problem is oftentimes when teams make a lot of changes over the summer, like you're going to see this with the Nuggets, with how many new guys that they added. You're going to see this with a lot of the other teams that have added multiple new players. It takes about a month and a half, 2 months for you to figure out how to play with one another. You got to find the small details, the little things, the timing, the cuts, where a guy wants the ball, where he doesn't want the ball, how he screens, angles. All of those little things they have to navigate and figure out in season. You can only do it in games. Can't do it in practice, because you got to do it in games to see how teams guard you. So the absence of that really hurts the Sixers. It's just not possible for you to really get into that kind of continuity and rhythm. Now, they can establish something similar to what the Raptors kind of did, where it's like they had one ecosystem that was basically everybody but Kawhi and Danny Green. And then they had one ecosystem that was just like Kawhi and Danny Green. And you can kind of do that. There's ways to manage this, but it does make, I think, the difficulty curve exceptionally sharper.
Look, this is one of those quotes to me that like they prepped it and they're like, this sounds great. And then I'm like, what have you been doing the rest of his career? Have you not been taking it day by day the whole time? Have you not been listening to your body the whole time? Like that it always strikes me as odd, because like in the moment you're like, yeah, good. Like they should probably change their approach in some way, but like, why weren't you doing that the whole time? So I am torn between those two thoughts. But the second one being, this is good. They need to have some sort of change in approach to Joel Embiid's health, given how gestures at his entire career has gone. And there was that glowing profile about him this summer that talked about like distrust that he had for people who worked with him on his own health and thinking they might steal his money and stuff like that. Him having more control of his own plan, I think, is good for him too. If there's any indication of that, that would be great. So Gonna be a weird year in Philly, as we're about to talk about, but I at least view this as a step in the right direction, even though it's also an admittance that maybe the prior direction was not very good.
Still don't know how I feel about Matt insinuating that they can't play the same way with Adembona at center.
He's
Not
actually
sure how I
kind
feel
of
about
good.
He's
I like
good.
him.
Not at the same
I like
level.
He's
him.
really good.
I like
good.
him.
He's really good.
Let's talk about Paul George and what he had to say. So we know that the 76ers are already without Jared McCain, who suffered a UCL tear in a workout this week. Might not be available to start the rest of the season. Locked On NBA Game Night covered that last night, if you want more on that story. But then Paul George this morning shared that he won't be ready for the start of training camp next week as he recovers from a knee issue. George did add that he hopes to be ready for the start of the regular season. Then he also said this, quote, "Can't get no worse than last year. That was a rock bottom type of season," end quote. I don't know that he knocked on wood after that, Matt. My question to you, can it be as bad as last season?
I mean, yeah, just what bodies are unpredictable, right? He did say he could do everything except full 5-ons, which I think is probably okay. He talked about being willing to play power forward. He talked about willing to be a mentor this season for a young team. The Sixers are so interesting because if Paul George and Joel Embiid were out for the entire season, I would still be like, man, I kind of like the Sixers team. Like VJ Edgecombe, Tyrese Maxey, getting Jared McCain once he gets the thumb thing fixed, which that's not great. There's a lot of talent here. Like there's just like a lot of talent here on this team, and it's making it all fit together and work, I think, is the problem. I am willing to buy low on Paul George. I had him higher, I think, than probably everybody else on the top 100. I tend to give guys like
Challenge
that
flag.
up. Like Paul, what'd you say, Tony?
Challenge flag from me personally.
Yeah, well, good, because like people do forget how much Paul George has accomplished in this league, and it infuriates me. It infuriates me. Like, think about the way that Carmelo Anthony was talked about, and think about the way that Paul George is talked about, and then look at the actual playoff success of Paul George versus Carmelo Anthony. It's infuriating. So I hope things turn around for Paul George. I hope he has a better season. I'm also really skeptical just because so many good vets go to Philadelphia and things go bad for them. Remember that Al Horford has been great everywhere, except Philadelphia. That makes me nervous for Paul George.
And the consummate professional Al Horford, too, is like the shining example of that. I think their offseason suggests that they're kind of prepared for potentially another scary season. What I mean by that is, did they add any new veterans? They kept some. Obviously, Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry are back. But like all of their additions were draft picks or like Trendon Watford aged players, like 24, 25-year-old guys, which means that is it possible things get worse? Yeah, players can get hurt again. Embiid gets hurt all the time. Paul George is already hurt. Jared McCain's already hurt. If Maxey gets hurt, yes, it could feel worse. But they have like shielded themselves from the actual franchise feeling being worse, I think, because of what you already said. Like in the case that all their stars are injured, they're now playing Watford, Edgecombe, McCain, Maxey, guys who are like, okay, good. This is the next good team for the Sixers in a way that like feels better than last year when you're just like kicking the tires on like 29-year-olds and seeing what happens when your whole team is hurt. So I think again, get worse, unfortunately. I mean, the other part of it is not only were their stars hurt last year, they didn't play well when they were healthy. So they should play better this year. But I think that this year will feel better, even if that happens again. So I think last year probably was rock bottom, but there are certainly ways it could feel worse early in the season if they have any expectation of winning anything major.
There are a lot of stops before you get to rock bottom, right? So
Yes.
even if they want to hit their ceiling, they might not. It might not be as bad as it was last year either. Speaking of veterans, one of their veterans that they brought back, Kyle Lowry, just took a job with Amazon as a player analyst. I don't know what that means, but I don't know that that's awesome for Philadelphia. So we'll see. It does feel a little bit like they have two different teams going, to your guys' point, right? They've got the young team. This is really like a two-timeline thing. If anything, maybe it's a little bit of like what the Clippers are reportedly doing, kind of preparing for life after Kawhi. But for Philadelphia, they're all right, we got 3 more years of Joel Embiid under contract. Maybe just wait this thing out. And then maybe Edgecombe and these other young guys are ready to go after that. We are going to move on to our media day preview. I'm going to ask you guys what team you're most interested in. If you can drop in to any media day across the country, where are you going? What question are you going to ask? We're trying to talk about that next year on Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building the same game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting. Whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, it's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Favorite thing of the week is coming up here in a second, but first, Media Day for most teams across the league is happening on Monday. We're going to Carmen Sandiego this thing, boys. If you could drop into any Media Day across the country on Monday, where would you go and what question would you want answered? Tony, we'll start with you.
Well, you said Carmen Sandiego, which is perfect because San Diego is where Kawhi wanted to live and helicopter in to LA, apparently, as has been reported among this many saga things. Look at that segue, Wes. We nailed that. Yeah, the Clippers is my answer, even without asking questions. I just want to hear how, and I do have a question to be clear, how they would answer to what has happened, right? And I can tell you now, I could probably guess with 90% accuracy a lot of the answers, which is this is an ongoing investigation and lawyers are involved and I'm not going to comment on an investigation or something to that effect, which is legal, boring gobbledygook. But that, like, someone needs to ask Kawhi, assuming he actually speaks on Media Day, either did you know about this no-show contract, or if he did, why didn't you do anything for them, or why did they not ask you to? Or what specifically about their company values didn't align with your beliefs to make you not do something? Like all these layers to know, because that's the part everybody still doesn't quite understand is why the heck would Aspiration do this? And if Kawhi can't answer to why he would be partnered with them to do nothing, like that question will remain. And I guarantee he's not going to answer it, but that has to be asked.
It would be really funny if he was like, no, they asked. I just didn't want to. That would just be the best. The best.
My core values don't agree with working or doing promotions.
Who's going to accuse Kawhi of being a litter bug? That's what I want to know.
Kawhi's in the Lorax. He's like the guy that wants to chop down all the trees. Mine, I'm not bored with the Clipper story. It's just like it's been everywhere, so I'm a little tapped out on it. I like basketball stuff, and so one is not a basketball thing. I want to drop into Atlanta, and I want to ask Kristaps Porzingis, what were you sick with?
Yes.
Because the man, like, just it obviously wasn't right last year, and they never ever elicited what exactly it was that he had, and like that's private health information. But I just really want to know, like, what did you catch, Kristaps? Like, what kind of bug did you get?
And to your point, Matt, we're all just assuming that it's over. Like, that's all behind him. We're just like, whatever that mystery illness was, we don't know what it is, but we also are assuming that it's gone and you don't have it anymore. We have no idea.
I would like to drop into Golden State and ask Steve Kerr, if the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga do agree to a long-term extension, are you actually going to play him? That's a good one.
They can be the shortest Media Day ever. They only have 9 players.
They only have 9 players. It could be
one photo done.
I think I am really gonna be interested to hear from the Miami Heat and about like the tone of this year, right? That's what I'm really looking forward to, is like, will they be able to resist making like passive aggressive, just really excited to get back to basketball and have a serious season without certain jackasses hanging around screwing up all of our seasons?
I think you'll hear a lot of the first part of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, still around. Still got my season credential.
Yeah, a lot of those. And then Washington Wizards Day is already over, but I'm already mad that they didn't ask enough about Keyshawn George. Just didn't ask enough.
There were not enough questions at Wizards Media Day about their veterans also.
That was, I asked Ben Strober over at Locked On Wizards when we were on a call. I was like, hey, why did nobody ask about Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum? And he was like, yeah, nobody just didn't come up. And I was like, yeah, that's
the best 2 players in the team. Come on.
It's a relevant question to me, to me, somebody who really likes their over on the win total this season.
As a child Wizards fan, I was very upset about that.
It's a bad sign, right? Because it's just sort of assuming, like, you got CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton has a championship ring. Yeah. CJ McCollum is, believe it or not, like one of the more like formational guards in the league. When you talk to young guards, you're like, who did you watch growing up, and who do you kind of like try to model your game after? And all of them will say a little bit of CJ McCollum, and yet they're not asked because everybody assumes that they won't be on the team by the end of the year, which is sad. Those guys have accomplished too much for something like that. Come on, Wizards.
Yeah, it's pain.
I want to go to Orlando. Just straight shot up to 95 for me, so it's an easy trip, number one. Number two, I have a real question. Other than adding Desmond Bane, what's the plan to improve the offense? Because every time I listen to Locked On Magic, no offense to Philip Rossman-Reich, or you talk to people, oh, Magic, they added Desmond Bane. It's one of the biggest offseason additions in the league. And of course it is, right? But also, like, is that it? You just added one player? Because you told us this last year with Contavious Caldwell-Pope, and that didn't work. Well, Bane is obviously better than KCP.
I also have thoughts on this. Matt, you go first.
Yeah, so it's a great question, Wes. You want to know what the problem, honestly, with this is? It's basically another issue with the NBA. In the NFL, assistant coordinators talk. They speak to the media. Like, once a day, you get the defensive offensive coordinator. We don't get any access to assistants. Zero, nope. None, zip, zilch. You might get them for a one-off if you've established a lot of trust with the team. And even then, it's like, it is very rare because of how much paranoia there is amongst NBA coaches about getting fired and getting replaced by these guys if they get more shine. And it's infuriating because you need to learn about these type of things. And the reason I bring that up here is Sham God may wind up being the bigger acquisition between Desmond Bane and him, because he is brought in to actually reshape a lot of the offense. Like, they reshaped their assistant coaching staff to try and reshape the offense. And my understanding from talking to people is that Paolo Banchero was not happy with the way the offense was structured. That's got nothing to do with roster, right? Guys can only play as well as they can. But you mentioned KCP. That should have been that's the canary in the coal mine. If KCP can't shoot in Orlando, you have a broader systemic problem. It does look like they addressed it, but it'd be great to talk to Sham God and be like, how are you going to improve this?
Desmond Bane's really good. Also, Desmond Bane having the ball means one of Franz and Paolo doesn't have the ball. So I get that he's a great shooter and can add some ball handling and shooting pop into their offense. But, like, at the expense of what else? One. And two, like, is that actually so much better? Yeah, it should be a little better. They've been god-awful on offense. And my other, like, anchoring theory about the NBA forever and ever and ever is, like, you really need good point guard play to have a better floor. Is Bane going to have the ball enough to be, like, an actual point guard? Is Tyus Jones going to be the guy that we're like, he's the one elevating everything if it happens? Or is Tyus Jones not good enough to do that anymore? I still am, like, suspicious that they might not be awesome on offense this year.
It's a fair suspicion.
Yeah, Dez is a pretty low usage guard. I'll say I'm not worried about that because I think that's specifically why he was selected and why they went after him in particular, as opposed to somebody like Trae Young, is they had to find somebody who wasn't going to compromise their defensive versatility and wasn't going to need the ball that much. So Desmond's able to play on ball next to, like, in those stagger units with Paolo or Franz, but he can also, he's used to jaw handling and can get up the floor and get out the way.
The reason I brought this up, too, is because this actually is important to the rest of the league, not just to the Orlando Magic. They were second in defensive rating last year. They are going to be good defensively again this year. They were 27th in offensive rating. Desmond Bane doesn't go from 27th to top half of the league. But if they were to somehow get into, 12th in offensive rating, something like that, that is a legitimate contender in the Eastern Conference. And right now they aren't because of where their offense is. It is our last show of the week. So we're going to end the show we do every Friday with our favorite thing of the week. Matt, I'll start with you.
Sam Presti's long press conference he does every single year. I love hearing from Sam Presti and the way that he talks about these type of things. And this is the kind of thing that used to, it would get snide remarks from Lakers fans. Where are the titles? Well, he's got one now. It finally came home. And, like, the reality is that Sam Presti thinks about the business of basketball and how to approach building an organization, not just basketball, but, like, anywhere. If you want to learn about, like, how you should approach, if you're ever in a position to contribute or be in a leadership position anywhere, listen to Sam Presti's quotes, man. Like, the guy cares about creating an environment where people want to go to work. He cares about creating an environment where people can actually be the best that they can be. And he cares about building an environment where everybody gets to contribute and feel like they're pulling towards something. And it's great that he won the title, but Sam Presti's great for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with draft picks or acquiring talent or drafting or scouting. It's because of the care and attention that he puts into those things. Go read Sam Presti's quotes this week and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I think the three of us all like that Sam Presti sits down for as long as people have questions. No, like, confined time twice a year. That's how he does it. I like that, right? If you're only going to do twice a year, you got to go as long as you can, and he does. My answer is charismatic Mike Brown in New York. I love this. He's been fun with New York media, and had my favorite quote of the week when he said, somebody asked me how I handle the pressure of being an NBA coach, and I said, don't worry about that. I make a lot of money. People are too afraid in our business sometimes to criticize coaches. Guys, it's fine. They're used to it, and Mike Brown is the perfect guy for it. I cannot wait to see him coach the Knicks for a full season.
I miss Mike Brown suited and booted when head coaches used to have to wear suits, and he used to coordinate his glasses to his belt to his shoes.
Yes.
I remember when the league did away with the uniform, with the suit mandates, and Mike Brown was actually one of the few coaches, because the NBA actually polled the coaches. Do you want to wear suits, or do you want to just stick with sort of COVID rules and just wear the quarter zips? Mike Brown was one of the few coaches who was like, I have too many suits. I want to keep wearing them. Don't get rid of them. And every other coach was like, no, we're getting rid of these. My favorite thing from the week, guys, was skinny Zion Williamson. The photos made the rounds after Pelicans Media Day. My favorite thing specifically is that Zion's MVP odds skyrocketed. He was like 500 to 1 by most sports books like a month ago. FanDuel has him at 150 to 1 after these photos. And these are some of the things that have been making the rounds on social media for people watching on YouTube. The Mountain Dew commercial to skinny Zion now. It's wild. And the fact that his MVP odds jumped from just some photos from Media Day to me is crazy.
He's right age, right situation. It would take them I'll say this: if Zion Williams is MVP, then the entire Western Conference is chaos, because that means they're a top 3 seed. But his numbers are there. Go look at the numbers are there when he's healthy. It's going to be a fascinating season, I think, if this could actually be a thing.
It's insane that he was 24 on New Year's Day this year. It feels like he's been in the NBA for a decade. Yeah, I hope it works out well for him. I've always been a believer, but the injuries have always been there. And the Pelicans would have been my answer to our Media Day question had they not already had it, because Joe Dumars, please explain this trade better than you already have.
If you like what you've heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA, your podcast, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Tony for their expertise today. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. We'll see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA.